Hey, Indonesia. Goedemorgen here in Nederland, and good morning for all our other listeners. We are really happy to have you here with us when we're going to talk about the important role of universities in the region. Please allow me to introduce my partner here, Victor Scholten from TU Delft, and me from Kimitisi. We'll just briefly say something about our background and how we ended up here, and also on what it is that we would like to share with you. Victor.
Thank you, Akos. Welcome and thank you for having us today. So my name is indeed Victor Scholten. I'm here the director of the Delft Center of Entrepreneurship at Delft University of Technology. And I'm happy to share with you today some insights that we are developing for developing innovation systems within university regions. As a Delft Center of Entrepreneurship, we are responsible for education and helping students to find opportunities based on their technology as a technical university, looking for what the value of that technology is and where to implement it. We are doing this very much with the other stakeholders in this region. And doing this is also what we like to help out in other regions to facilitate that kind of transfer of good ideas into commercial opportunities for businesses and for students, but also for society at large. Akos.
Good, yeah. My name is Akos. I'm a co-founder of Kimitisi, and the last 15 years, what I really love to do is always evolving around education, innovation, entrepreneurship. In the last 15 years, I founded several organizations that in several forms are dealing with these topics. I'm active as an educator and researcher at universities, at different universities, and mainly with collaborating with TU Delft. Is also I'm joining the same room with Victor today in Delft. And besides that, building and setting up consortia is part of what we do, and in that way, we found each other again with Victor and run this program or several programs around dealing with ecosystems. Victor, it's good that you're in the same room, so we can...
Yeah, that's the benefit of doing things together in one room, and that's also the purpose of the talk today, is to see how you can work together, collaborate, and all of that. And I think it's good to mention that what we will discuss today is some examples that we draw from our experience of working in these projects of how to develop innovation within university regions here in Delft, in the Netherlands, in Europe, but also in the Delft Global. We are very closely connected to Delft Global, an organization that reaches out to the Global South and other regions across the globe, but also examples that we have from Asia, working in the setting of Indonesia as well.
Yes, in the past I've worked and lived 4 years in Jakarta in a corporate role, and also run projects at the University of Indonesia on technopreneurship education. So in a way, we feel warm connection with what happens in Indonesia, and that's also why we thought it would be really great to share with you, and also to invite you to connect with us in exploring what is possible and what it is that we can do to improve a lot here in this world. Maybe it's nice that we share a little bit about the way we approach things. We love the 4Co approach, because it means that we are now in the lucky position that we can address you, and it seems to be a kind of one-directional communication. However, we are happy that through Winner 2024, we are connected with all of you on the other side of this lens. And once we have established these connections, and this works on personal level, it works also very well when you work together in larger groups, in consortia or in ecosystems. It's really helpful to also have some curiosity and interest in each other, and assertive listening is all about that, and that is where the co-learning starts. And the better we know each other, and the better we get an understanding of the skills, experience, expertise that we all possess, that many times triggers the interest and eagerness to co-create. And in our case, we always do that in very small and very agile steps, really to get the relationship first established and really learning by doing and doing that together. And eventually, if you look back and there are many moments of co-creation, then basically you can come to the conclusion that collaboration has taken place. So we are always coming up with big dreams, big goals, because that's where it should go. And eventually we know that we have to start small. So there's a little bit something about the way we work, our 4Go approach. And still, because we want to get a little bit input from your side, we have here a QR code with the Mentimeter. And I would like to invite you to scan it, and then we go pose some questions to you. Victor, you want to add something?
No, it's okay. But maybe we take a bit of time to use the telephone and all of other devices just to use the Go, and let's see who you are. So we are very much interested. Then we can adapt our talk today with the audience. Now this is something you can't see what the result is, but we will tell you the results in a split second. We see the numbers coming in, which is very good. Researchers, students, people from industry. So please just help us a bit with the background that you have. Then we can tailor the talk more to the needs or the interest from the audience. It's good to see that actually we have researchers in this as well, because I think this is where it should start, also with the innovation, the good ideas, and with students, and connect that to the industry, the needs that we have. Okay.
Yeah, then maybe we can go to the next step to get to know you even a little bit better. So this is a question about your interest. What is it that you are more interested in, whether it's ecosystem development or maybe commercializing research, or possibly something around innovation and entrepreneurship education, or you think it's really good to focus more on personal development. So hopefully this slide went through as well. Okay.
Very good. We see the numbers coming in. Innovation and entrepreneurship education has interest, as I can see. Maybe there's more people having certain interest in fields, because then we can focus their ecosystem development. Very good to see that there's an interest in ecosystem development.
Okay, let's give it a short moment to get all the input. Okay. But at least it gives us now a nice understanding on how to put the emphasis on the future points. So yeah, thank you for interacting. It gives us also a nice feeling that you are there and that we really have a nice conversation. And we're just happy to share what will come next. Okay.
So it's very helpful to get your response, and thank you for that. That we see that there are a diversity of people in the stream, and that there is an interest to focus on innovation and entrepreneurship education as well as ecosystem development. But maybe also for the background, innovation and entrepreneurship, this is in the heart of what we do, KIM TSIC and TU Delft, that we really like to understand. So what do we have with technology? And if we develop new technologies, and it starts with early maybe developments of new technologies, what are the benefits of that for society? And that only comes when we have this kind of action-oriented, that we can really implement the ideas that we have. And why is it so important? And I just want you to think 2 seconds of why is it so important for a country, for a region, for an organization, or for individuals to focus on that innovation and entrepreneurship. It's not in the Mentimeter. I just want you to just take a pause to think about it, and then I just continue. So innovation entrepreneurship, and there's lots of discussion. It's more trendy these days. But I think it's very important that it is about change. We try to implement new knowledge, new things that can help move our society forward. And basically, it's actually at the start of the renewal of activities that we do, make it more efficient, make it more effective, make it more faster, make it more accurate. But not only improving the things, but I think it's also important that innovation entrepreneurship will help make a region or an organization more resilient. In that, if things change, we have a kind of attitude, a kind of behavior that we expect maybe things will change, that we embrace that things are changing, maybe not always that we like it, but we know how to deal with these changes, or we are even at the first person to implement those changes. So we are able to, if things change in the environment, if new preferences exist, if new technologies appear, then we know how to act on those. So that makes it that we are more resilient to adapt. And I think that's important for any human being, any organization, any region, or any country. But the effect of that, of course, is that by having that innovation and that capacity to adapt and to change, is that we can sustain the jobs that we are. If we have new technologies or new industries coming up, then we can move into that. So it helps in the job creation, or stabilize the job creation, or increase the job creation from the bottom up. And that brings also the economic growth. So for policymakers, but also for organizations, as well as for individuals, if you're working in an organization, you will face change and how to act on that. I think that's why innovation and entrepreneurship is an important element to make that contribution there. So I hope that resonates also with your thoughts. We do not have it in the Mentimeter, but this is just as to introduce the topic. Aiko, do you want to add something to that, or?
What resonated well in what you just said is also this agile way of working, because we need to be adaptable and adapting to the environment, and obviously that is what the outside world requires from us. And then in the next slide or in the next topic, we see that what would be our role basically in this one.
And I think so. The agility, the change quickly, what we would call pivoting. We try to follow a certain direction, but then we identify that we may need to change the direction during the process of identifying what is actually at stake here. What are we doing? What are the innovation possibilities? And I think it's important that in entrepreneurship, it's about that flexibility. But the flexibility is more useful or works better in ecosystems where people are connected with specialization. So all different types of organizations have a specific specialization, and they can collaborate, work together, and maybe make connections when that is needed to focus on a certain opportunity, or to see that a certain new idea is getting into practice, into the society. So that's why I think that I would always say, like, as an entrepreneur, there's always the idea, let's do it myself. I want to organize it. I want to be in control, but it's very important to not go alone and to search for your strengths or your collaborators, your partners in the region that can help you make that change happen. And that gives also the flexibility to move faster. As an organization, you don't need to invest in all of the activities that are maybe can be sourced in partnerships in an ecosystem. You maybe are faster because you don't need to develop it yourself. So you can use the knowledge in other organizations more faster. And if it doesn't work out well, then maybe also you can switch to other organizations. You can make other combinations to continue in this kind of activity. So there's a lot of these codes that I mentioned here: continue, communicate, collaborate, that we mentioned earlier. So actually, it's also about that kind of what we would call a kind of flexible recycling of knowledge, flexible recycling of talent, flexible recycling of ideas, working together. And this is the benefit of innovation ecosystems, to move that forward. Question: how can we do that? How can we really make sure that we can get the most out of this capacity of knowledge, capacity of talent, capacity of opportunities?
Yeah, one thing to get started, and also one of the points of interest from the Mentimeter that we saw was about active learning or innovation and entrepreneurship education. So and maybe a little bit of history, a little anecdote of how Kinetic started in collaboration also with TU Delft is that yeah, we were running summer schools, so we had this whole cohort of students from different ecosystems. They were studying at different universities across Europe. We brought them together, and basically it was just an amazing journey. It was 2 weeks. It was an informal course. It was 10 ECTS, and what it made amazing is that we had collaborators from industry because they were providing challenges and they were providing mentorships on their domain expertise. We were sitting in a kind of non-traditional educational environment. It was bringing together students with different backgrounds, different cultures. It was also bringing together staff that was also running different activities within the universities. And it was just a fantastic blend. And over time, what happened is that in these cohorts, the students start to learn to deal with uncertainty, because with this innovation and entrepreneurship education, it is really in the first place, diving into yourself and finding out what it is that you are about, and how you can develop entrepreneurial skills and capabilities in a safe learning environment. So many things that are really relevant is that in these cohorts, we had this multidisciplinarity. That also what Victor said in these ecosystems, that you have always the different taste and different flavors and different capabilities together. And since this was in summer school, there were also a lot of social activities and, like I said, a different format of learning. So after several summer schools, I figured out that this would be nice to do. And the founding question of Kinetic was also, why is it not summer school every day? So in the essence that with these active learning forms, that can be rather small to start with, because that's also typically our approach, that when you embark in a new journey of developing education, let's make it very small. It can be one afternoon, bring someone in from your friendly network, maybe an old study colleague who has a nice challenge, or someone who is a warm relationship from the municipality, and really get started with an afternoon, a kind of mini hackathon, a mini ideation session, just to get going and experiment how it works and what people like to do. And you can extend this also to 9 month courses where there's a significant time around problem exploration, and then also more time about solution development, and eventually what is really important for the learning experience, plus also for making an impact on the local environment around the university or via the university, is the operationalization. That, okay, how can you translate what you are working on? How can you make it small enough that you can execute on it and learn from it? And once it's working in practice, then you can scale it up. So this is in that way also a very nice form of collaboration with industry, with the people in the research centers or the departments of the university, because many times, and like Victor said, we need all skills to tackle all these societal challenges that we are working on. And in that process, it also allows the people who are challenge partners or their staff or other experts that the teams come across, that you establish relationships, and it starts to create a kind of positive vicious circle. So in this way, it is implementable and actionable to start developing innovation and entrepreneurship education. Next to that, what is also relevant, that we hear many stories that startups are really important, and that there are many organizations that want to accelerate them, meaning supporting them to scale up. However, it's a very small pond most of the times, and it's in other words a kind of red ocean, because everybody wants to catch the same fish. And what you eventually want to do is that when a fish leaves to the ocean, or when a fish leaves into the river, that the pond gets replenished. And for that, you need to increase the flow, meaning that innovation and entrepreneurship education forms in the bachelor's and or master's need to be introduced. And for that, the organizations need to be ready. And that also means that either attracting people from outside the university that bring in certain competencies and capabilities, and or developing own people, researchers that have an inclination to education, professors that are really open to start active learning forms. And for them, it is good to have train the trainers. And also there, these formats bring together researchers, industry, and staff from the university. I think I covered the agile way of working. Like Victor said, that we need to be adaptable. In this way, it is always a situation that the two things that we really can control is the effort from our side and the attitude. Are we ready for it today? Do we do what we do with a smile? And are we willing to invest time and energy in developing these active learning forms? And the second one is that you learn along the process. So I think that I covered most of it, what I wanted to say. I could talk much longer, but then I'm afraid that I'm losing it. And something else that you're a big fan of is less is more.
Very good. So before we go and continue, I see there is a comment in the chat. I'm not sure. Please, yeah. So hi, Victor and Akos. With new technologies like AI transforming industries, how can university ensure their support for startups isn't just about growth, but also about addressing real-world challenges like sustainability, inclusivity, and region? Yes.
Oh, fantastic! I love the question. Thank you very much. I would say that I wanted to thank you by also thanking it linked to your name, because we believe in personal connections. When we talk about entrepreneurship and innovation education, it is learning by doing. We see technology as just one of the four key elements. So when teams are in the process, two things are happening. One is that we have a challenge, so that we always explain to them what are these societal challenges, sustainable development goals. Also, our challenge partners who bring in challenges, they always have some kind of a dream or ambition to also have a positive impact on society. So that's typically a starting point. So then, for us, we are here at Technical University. We focus on the technical feasibility of the project. However, it is more compartmentized. It's not that within these innovation entrepreneurship courses, the teams solely focus on how the technology works. It's much more important to see that if you have technology, or when the technology is with you, what is the impact, what are the prerequisites, and what do you need more to make sure that you can implement it and that it becomes adapted in several roles. And Victor, please complement if you wish.
Yeah.
Then the second part, which is also important, is the customer desirability, because in the end of the day, who will be the beneficiary of the service, the product that these startup teams come up with, and or who is your client? Okay, so there's a very strong focus, and it is problem-based. So in the first part of these educations, the teams are basically nudged or highly encouraged or strongly encouraged to explore the problem space. And eventually, if you want to implement a nice service, a good product into the market, you wish to do that in a longer timeline as well, which means that the team also has to sustain itself financially. So this is the organizational sustainability, as we call it. And the fourth point, the most important one based on the question, that is the societal impact. And maybe just one thing, Victor, and then I pass on the word to you, is that anything that the students ask, can we do this or that? We just have three answers. First of all, is it legal? Because we like to have our students in the room, and going to the police station is something we like to skip. Secondly, equally important, if not more important, is it ethical? Okay, so we insist, I said that we make sure that from the beginning onwards, the teams understand that they have to apply their moral compass, and if we find things doubtful, we will highlight it immediately. And then most of the times, I think we have to be fair enough here that many initiatives are actually more social entrepreneurship rather than commercial. So I think the ethics is okay. And the third thing that we require from the teams, that they have professional behavior, so that they understand that they step up as young professionals, so they can engage with the experts, professionals, and others in the ecosystem. Victor.
Yeah, thank you for that, Akos, to explain. But very much interesting question that you raised, Sally. It's about that responsibility that you take as a university in helping the students to bring their ideas to the market. And as you mentioned here in AI, and I think it's also for other technologies, that we always try to look at the positive ends, but there might be also downsides and affecting other people that are maybe taking not that much of a benefit, or maybe even get negative effects of a new technology. And I think it's important for, in particular for engineers, not only to see how can we work with technology and can make it work for certain people, but also include it with other people, with other people that might be affected. And in our university, this is also what we call the kind of responsible approach to innovation and entrepreneurship, that it's more inclusive, that by implementing a value proposition to certain users, there might be other people affected, and the conditions to which the technology is implemented successfully, you need to include also those other effects of other people that are maybe not taking immediate value or taking negative value from the new innovation that you implement. So, and I think in that very early development that Akos just explained, it's very good to see who are the people that are taking a benefit? What is the value proposition for them? But also more inclusively in a wider stakeholder environment, searching for people that are also taking other values from this idea. And there's lots of examples that we can give of students that were implementing irrigation systems in the global south, in which they are looking more at the inclusion of NGOs, but also inclusion of local government, but also inclusion of local knowledge workers, knowledge people that are at universities, but also maybe if we implement this, what kind of jobs do we take out of the hands of people that are working today with the current technologies, and how can we make them also part of the total picture when we implement a new irrigation system, and they can also take benefit of making use of that new irrigation system. And so we are trying to see who are the different types of stakeholders. We will have this also in the next slide if we bring up the slides in a second, but I'd like to answer Joe as well. That is actually looking at that stakeholder environment, who is involved, and how can we make that inclusive? And also for the sake of the success of that innovation, you need to include them, that it cannot be stalled or that it does not has a rebound effect when you implement it. But very good point, Sally. And I think it's not that we do this in a sideline, but I think it's where it starts, Sally, just to come back, that it starts with looking at that benefit for different type of people. That's why we call it much the kind of responsible innovation at our university. Then we get to Joe, and I hope that answered your question, Sally. But Joe, do you think universities can better collaborate with local governments and businesses to create stronger, more efficient or resilient startup ecosystem tailored to regional needs? Akos, you want to go first, or shall I?
You go.
I can start.
I
think universities have a pivotal role in this, in a way that they can improve that collaboration with local governments. And and of course, in the past, there was this kind of approach of, well, universities are much like an ivory tower, working on technology and then throw it out and then see what happens next. But also, I think that connection to businesses, that connection to the governments, to the needs, and where governments also have a policy like we want to improve the region, or we want to improve the economic growth of the region, and maybe not always the economic growth, but the resilience, that if things change in the technologies or the preferences from customers, then we can adapt as a university to these new developments. And I think that's where also universities are at the forefront, at the edge, and by working with new talent, with students that are always very creative and thinking outside the box, they are not exposed to the previous past as normal people working in industry for 20 years are. So I think that is the strength of a university, to bring up that kind of newness, develop that new idea, but not only within the lab, but much more in collaboration through living labs, working with local experimental sites, which are maybe free zones for regulation, trying to test things more in practice, bring in the practitioners to work with students, the challenge-based learning, that we bring in the challenges from businesses as cases for students to work on. It gives an opportunity for the companies to learn about the students, but for the students also to practice in a real life setting the knowledge that they have and the approaches of how to make change and how to act as a change agent. So I think, do you think universities can better collaborate? Yes, and I think they have a pivotal role in making that collaboration work and to address the regional needs. Thank you for raising that point, Joe. Akos, you want to add to that?
Yes,
see more
definitely.
questions coming in. Very good.
Definitely, I want to add it quickly that the university is a kind of center point of knowledge and knowledge development, knowledge transfer, and also the knowledge application. And like I said earlier about this active learning forms, learning by doing, that's the best way to do. If you can create this for a startup team, just take, for example, the medical domain. Here in Europe, we have that many different healthcare systems that typically any startup from TU Delft in the medical domain will focus first on the Netherlands, because that is the environment that they know best. Okay, so in an early stage, when there's already that many things that you need to deal with, you need to develop yourself, you need to get connected with the team, you need to validate, you need to ideate. So there's that many things to do. Then usually it's very helpful that you can do that with people that you know, people that you can trust, and that it can be executed, like Victor said, within the own vicinity of the university. And then at a later stage, when it comes to scaling up, if that is needed, then there are different scenarios and different rules depending on whether it's a kind of online service. Then you have 2 billion people that are connected to internet and speak English. If it's a certain product service, then again the scaling up goes across different regions. So as a starting point, Joe, it's really this point that is relevant, that start in your own backyard, because there you have low-hanging fruits to get going and to learn. And then later, through international collaboration or through national collaboration, the scaling up can take place.
Yeah, very good. I saw there was another question
Yes.
that I liked very much, if that is a possibility in the last 8 minutes we have.
Sarah
also threw in a question. Good to see you the first time, Sarah. Examples of successful university-led initiatives that have made a significant impact on regional innovation, and what lessons can be applied to other regions. I think if I can give an example, but I would like to see examples here in Delft, for instance, but also what we have seen in other regions, that it's not only university-led. Maybe that's important to mention. It's maybe that it's in that collaboration at a university, but also in that university with people that are working on technologies, the researchers, the students connecting to industry if they have an internship, but also the Tech Transfer Office, an organization that helps to see the opportunity of technologies for society, for businesses, for organizations, for governmental organizations, and equally also the support of startup initiatives, that there are support organizations within the region, that there is a incubation facility, that there are specific services that can be offered to the startups when it comes to how to do administration, but also how to find legal support for if you want to start a company or if you want to enter a certain industry and there are specific requirements or certificates needed. So there's a lot of support that is in the region, and I think that is, university is maybe the central point, but I would be careful mentioning it like that, that it's more the connection and the total region, all the actors, the stakeholders in that region, how they find each other, how they have a kind of behavior to reach out to each other. That makes the impact. And I can tell here in Delft, maybe it's a small city, there are not big corporates in this region, and the government, the local government, really wanted to see more activity, high-end development of new technologies that stay in the region. And the university, together with the municipality, has taken the initiative to start an incubation center 20 years ago, and that made a change to what we see in this region, that there is more entrepreneurial activity. But likely we see also similar activities in other regions in Europe, and particularly also in the global south of Africa, where universities and local incubation and NGOs, they are helping a lot in organizing new innovations in their regions. And the same goes in Indonesia, for what we have seen when you work there, Akos.
Yeah. Now, maybe adding something else which is complementary to Victor's explanation is that making sure that the alumni that were in the university, that were engaged in earlier entrepreneurship innovation activities and/or beyond, that they are actively involved and take part in also establishing and reconnecting. That was also the recycling that Victor called earlier, and also within the university, enabling student and student engagement to become active in student boards, in student associations, and those kind of activities that the university also allows them to take part of the job in building and working on the ecosystem. Okay, so maybe
it is because we see in the chat some communication going up and down. One more question, and then we like to bring up our last slide if that's possible. Yeah. So we have Fanny. Just really like hi Victor and Akos. Thank you for the question, Fanny. Based on your perspective, what is the most effective way in general to increase initiatives focused on cultivating cultural awareness, diversity, and inclusion, which remains insufficient for ensuring inclusion and social justice, especially in efforts aiming at safeguarding individuals in the academic environment? That's a long and a very detailed question. Let me just give it a moment. I'm not sure if this is the right answer that I can give, Fanny, but I will try. I think it's important for, in particular, students that we bring them in contact with challenges, real life challenges. So we bring them a little bit out of their comfort zone in working on technologies within the lab, and then do the measurement with the equipment in the lab. So we like to get them in touch with other people, and maybe that brings a little bit discomfort to them, because this is normally what they are not used to doing there. But I think addressing this, that we bring them together with other university students, but also other students from other backgrounds, from other countries. But we do also like to see that there are programs in which students do visit locations, different cultures, to get more aware of that diversity, the different needs that people have. More importantly, maybe also incentives to work with new technologies or to be part of the change that you want to implement. So I think by putting that in a challenge-based learning perspective, I think we can address these points. But then, of course, we need to look at the context of where this challenge-based learning takes place.
Yeah, maybe maybe a practical answer to this question, Fanny, is that in a very early stage within the courses that we run, or even when we coach startup teams that are outside the university already, we let them become aware about a safe learning environment. We have interactions and workshops around the way we work, meaning that as a team, they have to investigate what are their internal values, what is the purpose of the team. We expose them to Gert Hofstede's cultural dimensions. We have many times international teams already here that have to cook together, because that's some of the activities that we, I would say, that promote, just to get to know each other from social point of view. So we always say it starts with the individual, and it has to become a win-win situation, ideally for all. So we are very active on making sure that the teams take active steps here to go into the directions, and we see that usually happening quite well. So what I said earlier, the moral compass of the young generations, if they are nicely coached and monitored, they go into the right way. And I also agree with you that there's still a lot to do, but that's why we are so happy with all the entrepreneurial teams that are there. Good. So I think we got nudged to go to the next slide of ours to bring it to the conclusion.
1 minute left.
Yeah.
But this is mainly our approach. But please go on back. Yeah. So we have the approach that we take, the methodology that we have is what we have implemented in Indonesia, but also in Eastern Europe and Africa, the global South. So what are the needs? And I think this is where it starts. It's not about designing an ecosystem and just use a blue book and put it there. It's more so, what are the needs, and what do certain policymakers, what do universities, what do students actually like to see? And I think that really is where we can start from the bottom up with the stakeholders. So who is in the region? Who are the main actors? What is the interest that they have? How do we connect to them? And what are the possibilities to collaborate, what we mentioned earlier? So we try to make that inclusive with different types of people that we know and we can connect to. And just maybe I give it to Akos to make it very action oriented. We have these kind of on the job, on the work, how to activate that.
So that there are multiple ways of going, but we have these activities, learning activities for the students individually, for staff, facilitators, train the trainers. We support researchers that if they have something which is also in their opinion cool to implement because it has a societal impact or it has a potential commercial impact, how to support them to form teams, to go through the process, whether they take an active role or whether they just become a silent partner in the initiatives. So it is all about learning by doing. It is all bringing together the right people within the team, making the teams connect to the other relevant stakeholders for their success. And again, still focusing on also the ethical side and making sure that the team and also the community benefits. And of course, for the students in this school, but also, all these active learning forms are also for students. And maybe as a closing words, we consider ourselves as a very nice Hungarian proverb that even the wise people learn until their last day. All these activities that you do, they are just a part, it's a window within everyone's individual lifelong learning process.
Very good.
Terima kasih banyak for our friends in Indonesia, and hartelijk bedankt for the Nederlanders, and thank you very much for all the others who are conversing in English.
I really enjoyed your questions. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, Astrid.